Huh? It kind of has a clip. It's just not very, it's not solid. It's like, it's relying on gravity.
As much as anything. Our most creative spot would have been Brandon. I have 4 sitting by the front door.
Of course. Ever put things by the door? You want to actually put it, just pass it right up to the
Yeah, in my case, that's the only way I could share.
I have everything in my house. Because even if I get out to my car and I go, so I have a basket. I don't want to share what's going on.
I do kind of the same things there. I have a little shoe rack in the front door, and I have keys there next to myself. So if I walk by it, this is one of the cases on fire. Because I put it in the player. So it's more than yeah, I started
so demanding. Well, I was trying to meet a girl earlier that he said something to do with meetup. So I said, oh, okay, well, yeah, cool. Sure. That is iced tea. Lemonade, iced tea, Sprite, water, Diet Coke. How long have you had?
All right, guys, let's get started. I think everybody, well, most everybody who's going to be here is here. Hopefully you're enjoying the food. And I'm going to unfortunately put you on the spot, probably with food in your mouth, because I'm going to ask you to say who you are, what you do, what you want to learn, that kind of stuff. Just give us a little brief intro of who you are. All right. I unfortunately forgot my tripod, because what I normally do is I have a webcam and I just kind of zoom out, and whenever you're talking, I put the camera on you. So if you're kind of camera shy, you're probably in luck. But there may be one coming on the way that we might be able to make shift. So if you're scared of that, talk now before it gets here. All right. So we're gonna start in the back with Brody. Yeah. Why don't you start?
All right. Hi, my name is Brody, or Broderick Boyd, and me and my wife have a company that helps singles find the right partner for them. We do big seminars and workshops here in the Bay Area.
Cool. Awesome.
Excellent.
Okay, my name is Crystal. I am a director of marketing for multiple industries in the Bay Area, ranging from anything you could possibly think of. My goals are to just expand that network and share my knowledge and take in as much as I can learn from every other profession.
Cool. Awesome. Mike?
Hi, my name's Mike Halpern. I'm retired. I've had a long, glorious career in direct marketing, brick and mortar type. And I'm here to retrain myself and learn the virtual world. And a lot of technical challenges, you know. So this is a real honor to be amongst real life gurus like Tom and Bill and some of the others. Really appreciate that.
Thanks. Bo?
I am Bo. I live in Concord, and my office is in Walnut Creek. I own a real estate company and a hard money lending company. And I do a lot of social media marketing, and it's just blowing up my business because, you know, people find me now, and I don't have to go out and hunt for individual states, you know, like the whole cow. Just do social media stuff.
Cool.
I'm Cynthia Sandoval, and I am a private money lender for real estate, and I work for a lot. And I'm just here to kind of step up my marketing game as well.
Cool. All right. Sean?
I'm Sean. I'm a former actor turned marketing consultant. And I actually advise a lot of clients on probably a lot of the stuff that we talk about here. But the reason I'm here is because I want to make the leap into selling my own product and doing my own thing online. So if there's anything I can glean tonight, I'm excited about it.
Cool. All right.
Hi, I'm Sue, and I'm an illustrator and animator, and Fran will talk about our animation business, but I have a book on sexual abuse prevention for kids that's doing quite well, but I want to really pump it up and sell even more than it's selling now. So, and internet marketing is something that I'm really very focused on doing on all kinds of levels for that book. So, I'm here to learn.
Cool. I'm Fran, and as you heard, Sue and I are partners in a animation venture where we do explainer videos that talk about products and services and concepts to convey the kernel of what the project is about in a very concise and affordable way. And so we're looking to learn more about how to market better with SEO and just reevaluate our efforts in that direction and see what we can learn. And, so forth.
All right, Shelley?
Hello, I'm Shelley Zomley. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have an office in Walnut Creek where I do private therapy for families, couples, and individuals. I'm very interested in talking to you about your book. I absolutely love this group. I do a lot of the creative part for guest speaking, clinical education, and other social workers. So I enjoy the creative process, but I don't know how to execute with like the digital marketing. That is one of my weaknesses. So I've gotten a lot out so far, and happy to be here.
Linda?
I'm Linda, and I'm a retired tech teacher and a curable learner. And I love learning new things. Right now, I'm mainly a seller on Amazon FBA, fulfillment on Amazon.
All right.
My name is Brian Toke. This is my mom, and she invited me tonight, so I am between jobs, I'll call it right now. I was recently doing property improvements for the company that owns real estate, and I'm brainstorming how to create an organization that does that as a standalone business and basically offer that back to the companies like the one that laid me off. So that's idea.
Great.
My name is Kevin Toke, and so I'm kind of with these guys.
Just kind of.
Yeah, just kind of. Yeah. And so my mom also invited me, and I work about a third of the time doing music. I was doing music full time for about 6 years, and then in May of this last year, I joined a video agency that's been going for about 6 years. It's called BX Films, and we do, I feel like I caught the second half of what you were talking about, but we do similar things like explainer videos, and we'll do interviews, and like basically introduce people's products, as well as some commercials, and we're just kind of a smaller firm with 4 principals and a bunch of contractors. So, and I'm just here to learn and folks. So, great. Awesome.
I'm Tom Leonard. I'm co-organizer with Bill. Been working on a number of websites over the last few years. I too do explainer videos and animations and a lot of things with photography and the like. Also working on apps, simply because I see that that's going to be the next frontier. If nobody's got an understanding of that, look at your phone. There's not going to be any less apps. There's just going to be more.
Let's jump over to the next dude.
Yep.
Whoever wants to go first.
I'm Joe Sinclair. I'm an author and publisher, and looking for various ways to market my publishing products.
Great.
I'm May. I work in the life science biotechnology field for years. Used to work for a company. A couple months ago, I started my own business. I sell, my previous company gave me some of their product. I sell animal cells product, mainly stem cells. I just launched my new website, and I'm new to the website marketing, e-commerce. My target customer is their research, pharmaceutical research scientists, and I want to learn how to reach them.
Great. That's awesome.
There's a niche.
Yeah.
I'm Sophia, and I work for farmers. I'm starting my own agency, and I'm also trying to learn how to market it. And internet's not my strong point, so that's a biggie for me. It's just learning how to use it and getting leads from it.
Okay, great. I'm Michael. I'm also with farmers. We're more and all came together. Okay. I'm also looking for leads and for marketplaces and ways that I can expand my business as well. Yeah, awesome.
I'm Lauren. I'm kind of a two-pronged thing. I'm the trainer for the Farmers District in Pleasanton. These are two of the agents I'm working with, and I'm trying to find ways to get them more lead sources, so to market them, and also teach new agents coming in. But I also have my own company doing insurance and investment securities licensing training classes. So have a website. I'm just trying to work with the SEO and get my name out there and niche market to insurance companies where they utilize my services.
Great.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Video.
Yeah.
Bill and I've been talking, we've been doing this meetup for about 5 years. And we've been talking video for that 5 years. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah. So I'm Bill. I run this with Tom, and we got this meetup going. Well, we took it over for a friend of mine who was an SEO guy, and we took it over about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't recall how long ago. But I've been, just a little bit of background about me is I've been doing web technology since pretty much the World Wide Web came into existence. I started in 1996 with my own company, doing website design, doing back office automation, databases, networks, that kind of thing. And as time went on, it just looked like, and I was kind of more on the tech side. I really liked, the machines and networking and all that kind of stuff. And it became really obvious to me that where I could fit in best was where I basically gauged everything by the fact that every time I was in somebody's office, they said, "Do you do websites?" So even though I was there tinkering with networks and whatnot, so I said, "Yeah, I do." So exactly, I learned HTML and I learned all the other things that came along during the last 15, 20 years. And one thing I did, sometimes I'm a slow learner, and I'll tell you, it's important to know what you don't like. And I don't like programming. I just don't like it. So that's why I'm kind of a WordPress guy now, because it's super easy. It's really easy to get started. You don't have to know a lot. I mean, if you can use email and you can, get onto the web, however you do that, you can use WordPress. And you can do really well without having to be a technical whiz, in my estimation. And I think it's more important to get your ideas out there, speed the market, versus having, the quote unquote perfect website, because it's never going to be perfect. Get over that right now. It's not going to be perfect. And everything you do is evolution. It's an iterative process where you try something and you tweak it and you test things and you try something else and you split test and you just make sure that you're going down the right path. So that's where I come from, and I've been, like I said, I've been doing this a really long time, and 5, 6 years ago, it became really apparent that video was kind of the best way to reach as many people as possible. What with YouTube being at least America's second biggest search engine. If you ever, think about your own habits. If you want to learn how to do something, where do you go? Most people go to YouTube and they type in "how to" or "how do I," and a lot of people here talk about explainer videos. They're awesome. I personally have saved tons of money by going to YouTube and figuring out how to do something. Things as simple as, just to give you an example, last summer, it's kind of a silly story, but and it shows the dynamic between husband and wife. My family, I have a family of 6, me included, 4 kids, and my wife and me, and we like to go camping. And we have we have a fairly reasonably sized car, a Honda Pilot, but it's not big enough for us. So I suggested we take 2 cars. She suggested that we take a U-Haul car trailer, put it behind the Pilot, and of course she won. So I had to figure out so I had a trailer hitch already, but I didn't have any of the electrical stuff, the wiring harness and hookups and all that stuff. So I went to Honda and I called them and they said, "It's about $400." And I was like, "No." And I went to the muffler shop who put our trailer hitch on, and they said, "Well, it is a few $100s." So I looked online and I found it's not perfect, but I found a little wiring harness for like 12 bucks, and I went to YouTube and saw how to install it, and it took less than 5 minutes, and I was done. And it's not permanent, and I don't care because it's a $12 harness that if it breaks tomorrow, I can buy another one. But that's just, you know, I saved myself $400 or 500 bucks. And that happens all the time, all the time. So video is a big deal, and I think what we're going to talk about tonight, and I'd love to have this be an interactive thing. I don't want to be the guy talking all the time. I want you guys to help me out here. What we're going to be talking about here, it focuses on really 3 parts, and the 3 parts are your website, video, and email. You can tie those 3 things together. You have a solid way to connect to your target audience. Something we've talked about in the past many times is, and it's really important, and most people think of this the wrong way, you got to ask yourself, who is my audience? And I think it's up to you to decide who your audience is. Like, who do I want to sell to? Who do I want to buy my product? Who do I want to use my service? Most people, especially people in like consumer products, like, you know, inline skates or shoelaces. We had a guy in here with magnetic shoelaces. It's great, but he wants to sell to everybody. Well, you don't. No, you don't. You got to focus on. I think you need to focus on a niche, and if you want, you can expand over time, but perfect that niche. Perfect your marketing to them. Really get to know who that audience is, who those consumers are, and then you can move to a different vertical. That's fine. Like, you know what your audience is. It's other insurance companies. But can you neck it down even further? Is it, you know, do they specialize in financial products? Do they specialize in car, home, you know, commercial? You can get that granular and more. And maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you've already thought of all this stuff. But most people don't. They think, hey, I made this whiz-bang product and I want everybody to buy it. Well, yeah, that would be great, but that's not how it's going to work. You got to focus on an avatar or your ideal customer, whatever you want to call it, a persona, buyer persona. Focus on that and get that right, and really speak to that one person who you think would benefit from your book, or that one person who would benefit from, you know, your consulting, or that one person who would benefit from your explainer videos. So let's talk about that. So, you know, you have to have an acronym for everything, right? So I'm just calling this a simple internet marketing system. Why? Because it's a system, it's simple, and it uses the internet to market whatever you're selling. All right, so as I said before, the 3 main focus areas are video, your blog or your website, and email. And all the other stuff I'm going to talk about is kind of optional, although, you know, if you want to optimize, you're going to do some of these things, like make sure that your announcement networks are solid, make sure your outreach is solid, and we'll talk about all that in a little bit. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Is any of the material you'll be sharing with us available for download or by email or something?
Yes, yes. I'll put it on the meetup page, and I'll put it on the Google Plus page, and as well as my website. Yeah. Oh shoot. Yeah, basically that's the announcement network, and these are suggestions. It kind of, you know, there is no one perfect system. You have to tweak it to fit your industry or your market, or even your own, yeah, kind of your own preferences. But this is your announcement network, and it's your Facebook page, it's Google Plus, it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest. It could be Instagram, StumbleUpon, SlideShare. Lots of different ways where you can say, hey, I have something new, take a look, in a nutshell. Yes?
I kind of just want to emphasize on the direction that you're going, because it's for people who are new to running a business or such. being on the back end of the spectrum and understanding what pay-per-clicks mean and average cost per customer, the more fine-tuned your funnel gets to really hit on what you're saying, the more money as a whole you yourself, your company, or your business is going to save. And it's so key to what you're saying, because I've ran the numbers and the figures and understand that the more narrow your niche is, and the more, whether you get 5 people that click and those 5 people actually decide to purchase, or you get 200 people that click and none of them did, a click doesn't mean anything unless what's behind it. So just keeping that in mind on the same channel you're going, that really, when internet is huge and 7 billion people can be reached, it's definitely the right direction to go to start here and build there.
Yeah, and I think it's, I think it was Seth Godin, you know, this big internet guru, who does a lot of blogging. He's worked for Yahoo. He's done lots of different things, started his own companies and whatnot. I think it was him who said, you can make a comfortable living by having 1,000 really super fans. You don't need to have 6 million people loving you. That would be awesome.
Right.
But 6 million, the odds are 6 million people love it. But you probably can get 1,000 people who are diehard fans, you know, who buy every album, who go to every concert, buy every T-shirt, buy 6 beers when they're there, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really important, and you're starting to see that, and it's, you know, we could talk about long tail and short tail and all that kind of stuff, but I think you get the gist, right? Anything else? All right. So you can also add a podcast. Podcasts are very easy to do, especially with this system, because we're going to focus on video and we're going to focus on using Google Hangouts on air, which with just a little bit of technical expertise, meaning you know how to start a program and tell it what to do, like strip the audio from this video, you could turn it into a podcast. You could turn an MP4 into an MP3 very easily, and an hour MP4 might take 20 seconds to strip the audio out. So you can podcast, you can write a book. Now you've written books, you can add these things to your repertoire. And also press releases can be huge. You know, press releases in the old days, you know, 5 years ago, were something that only, you know, big media or big companies did. But now small guys, small people, small businesses can do press releases quite effectively. But again, it comes down to targeting your market. You don't want necessarily your press release to be seen by, I mean, let's say you're selling a language service that teaches people how to, you know, who you know, maybe Spanish is their first language and they want to learn English. You don't necessarily want to sell that product in, I don't know, Poland, for example. You want to exclude some demographics from your marketing if it doesn't apply to your product. I mean, that makes sense, right? And as she said in the back, your costs are going to be considerably lower. Like if you do Facebook ads, which are very, very inexpensive, you could spend, you know, $1 or $5 a day marketing your business through Facebook ads. If you narrow down your target market, you're not going to get as many clicks, but those clicks are going to be of higher quality, meaning those people are much more likely to buy. And that's what you really want. Now, that's not talking about branding, because branding is kind of a different thing. You know, if you're Nike, you want everybody to know who you are, but you also know that not everybody's going to buy your shoes, but you want everybody to know, just do it, right? So I'm gonna make a leap here and say that probably most of us aren't in that position. We really want people to buy our stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can brand later. I mean, you know, your expertise, your authority, all of that stuff matters. But at the end of the day, we want to sell more stuff. And how are we going to do that?
It should be noted that Nike didn't start serving everybody. They started serving runners only.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So moving on. So I'm going to go, and this is going to sound very elementary and basic, and I apologize, but I don't know
I don't know who comes to these things all the time. So I don't know where, I can't start advanced. I have to start kind of at the beginning. But this is going to be really quick because I think this is kind of self-evident. If you're going to start an online business, you probably already have an online business, but if you're going to start one, you need to get a domain name, right? You need a URL for people to go to buy your stuff. Now, there are people out there who will say that you don't need a website. You can run your business through Facebook or Amazon or a host of other things, Etsy if you're an artist. You can do all those things, right? You can. But at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in visualizing your business model as kind of a hub and spoke mechanism. And your website is the hub. It's the center of everything you do. And everything you do online and even offline should lead back to your website. So get a domain name. If you need a URL, you go to a registrar to do that. And one registrar that I use and I have been using for the last 5 to 7 years is Namecheap. They're, as the name suggests, they're cheap domains. They're not $2 domains, but you can get .com domains for $10. It's not like the old days when you bought a domain name from who's the big one? Network Solutions, right? $35, and it took you forever to get a transfer if you wanted to, and sometimes they didn't do it. Now they do.
So that's the question I have, two things. One is, I talked to you before about owning your name versus like through a website. Like if you buy, when I started with Wix and I learned I should have started somewhere else.
Okay.
I bought it through their website. So remember, you asked me, do I own it or not? I don't know how to figure out if I actually own it or I can take it somewhere else or it's stuck with them. And then the other thing is the same thing with Network Solutions. I am free since like 2003 because I knew way ahead this would be a business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to transfer them or is that individual?
Yeah, probably the easiest thing to do is just call them up and say I want to do a transfer, and they'll walk you through it. But most domain registrars have a process now where you have to initiate the transfer, and you have to do things with the registrar you're transferring to. You got to get a code because there used to be, and I think there still is, but there used to be a lot of fraud with domain name buying and transfers and whatnot. So they put all these things in place.
Yeah, it shows like their website names or their, like the Shelley's Only / Wix or whatever.
That's typical though.
Yeah, so you don't, I don't know exactly what your situation is, but if it's like Shelley.wix.com or something to that effect, you don't own that website. You're either getting it for free or you're paying them to host it.
There's actually and it might be a little off, but it's something along the lines of mydomain.gov. It's actually .gov registrar, and you can plug in your information, whether it was through GoDaddy or NetSolutions, whatever the case may be. It shows you the backlog history for up to 9 years of whether it's free, whether you have to pay for it, whether it's registered, or how much it costs to buy it. And when you click on it, personal information actually shows up of
who the owner is.
So that might be a good. What's the website? It's mydomain.gov, I believe, but it's .gov.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you just, I did this the other day because I had a client who I built their website back in 1996 and maintained it for about 10 years. And when the recession hit, they kind of stopped doing business. And they called me out of the blue a couple weeks ago. And I made a mistake when I was setting up their new site because their old site was with a web host that it was just a nightmare to deal with. But I forgot to write down who their old DNS name servers were. And that caused me an issue down the road. But I found this website by going to Google, and I basically entered in historical name servers, and I clicked on the first one, and it gave me everything I needed to know. So
someone else might.
Google is your friend, always. unless you do something to make them mad.
I gave that from them.
You mentioned WordPress. Maybe it's worthwhile to make sure everybody knows the delineation between .com and .org.
Yeah. I think we'll get to that in a minute. So the next thing, so you've got a domain name. So basically you have a sign on your storefront, but you don't have a storefront. You don't have an address. You don't have a place to store your inventory. Let's just say your online inventory, which is basically your files and your databases and things that run your website. So you need to get web hosting. Your site needs a home. And for some people, like Wix is your home. In general, I don't recommend going with like a free web host or even a web host that's tied to a platform. So a platform could be Wix, a platform could be WordPress.com. So if you go to WordPress.com or if you go to Blogger.com or Blogspot.com, you can set up a website in 5 seconds. I mean, you enter a little bit of information, it's online right away, and typically you'll have a URL that's something like your business name .blogspot.com or your business name .wordpress.com. And that's fine for getting started, I guess. But if you're going to make if your whole end game is to make a viable business, what I suggest is that you get your own web host, you download WordPress in a variety of ways, and so WordPress.org supplies the WordPress blogging platform for free. The software is free. Every web host I've ever worked with, I know of a few that don't, but every one that I've worked with will allow you to install WordPress on their hosting, and almost all of them allow you to do it through the web host, meaning you don't. In the old days, when you wanted to install WordPress on your site, you had to download the software, then you had to upload the software back up to your web host. Then you had to create a database manually. You had to set up a database user, password, permissions, and then you had to tie the database to the file, to the WordPress files, and that was kind of a pain in the butt. You could literally do it in 5 or 10 minutes, but if you don't know what you're doing and you make a mistake, things can go horribly awry. But with most web hosts, they make it pretty simple where you click like Soft Delicious or something like that. You click a button and it asks, what is your URL? What's your domain name? What do you want your username? What do you want your password to be? And you click the next button and it sets the whole thing up for you. Database, permissions, everything included.
Do you have any thoughts about optimized press?
Yes. It's incredibly powerful. I can't say anything about Optimized Press 2, the latest one, whatever they're calling it nowadays. But OP1 was pretty powerful, but it was really confusing to use. But you can make really nice web pages, lead pages, sales pages, that kind of thing. I have heard, though I haven't been a customer, so I can't vouch for this, myself, but I've heard that their support has gone a little downhill. I don't know if that's true. That's what I've heard from my marketing peers. I use something else, and we'll talk about that. Yeah. So they go through versions as well, and they've had a pretty big overhaul. And I think they're calling it Optimized Press 2, but I could be wrong. What's next? All right, so I use 2 hosts, and I've used many hosts over the years. One that I recommend to start out with is A2 Hosting, and they're our sponsor. They're the ones who supply the soda, but I actually do stand behind them, and I have several clients who I've set them up on A2. A2 is really inexpensive. I think the discount you get through here is like 55%. So if you buy a year's worth, you can get your monthly cost down to about $3 or $4 a month. That's a lot. It's shared hosting, so you don't have a dedicated server, you don't have the complexity, you don't have the expenses, but there are drawbacks to having a shared server. If some guy is running a porn site on your server, you can suffer consequences. But most, that doesn't happen a lot. It does happen. But they also have plans that go all the way up to dedicated. And the nice thing about a good web host is you can grow as your business grows. So if, for example, I have shared hosting now and all of a sudden I'm getting 100,000 visits a month, I can upgrade to a VPS server, which is a virtual private server, which is a more robust server system. Yes?
Doesn't the, in which the hosting takes place, have a lot to do? I mean, for instance, if somebody just wants people to be able to go through, explore, send an email inquiry, point blank, very simple 5-page website. What if the e-commerce, the shopping cart options, are these recommendations that you're suggesting can capacitate that kind of growth of those options, or do you have another recommendation you would need?
I think most of these web hosts that I've used in the past can definitely handle e-commerce. A lot of times though, when you're doing like heavy duty e-commerce, sometimes I don't know what the right word is, but basically it's not, you basically are using a different platform that ties into your web, your web host.
Right.
So for example, this customer I was talking to you about a little while ago who just came to me out of the blue, we originally set them up on a Yahoo store, which could handle thousands of transactions a minute. And they're not even the best. They were cheap. They were $50 a month and that's what they wanted to pay. I don't know what they're doing now. Yahoo seems to be like getting ready to sell everything they own. Yeah, but it's looking real this time. But anyway, you can tie it in with different e-commerce type systems. So they're all very flexible. And like I said, if you need more horsepower, you can buy it. It costs you more.
So what about from somebody who's at 0 or somebody that's 100 miles per hour? Someone who just has a phenomenal product or an idea, wants their website, their emails, their domain name registered, their e-commerce set up, the whole shebang, and let's just bypass Instagram and the rest of those. And someone were to suggest something that just made it simple because you didn't have the time, like GoDaddy, who offers you all of those things. What are, as your expert opinion, what is your advice for that?
Yeah, so I think GoDaddy's okay for domain registrations. Their web hosting, not so good.
Can you make all the changes, it freezes, you try to go back and everything you did was lost?
Yeah. Additionally,
Then what would you recommend in replacement of that kind of?
I would piecemeal everything together, to be honest, because then you're getting, it's kind of like, you guys are, most of you are too young, or too young to remember this, but remember when you had your high fidelity stereo system at home, and you had a choice of a receiver and 2 speakers, or you could buy an amp, a preamp, a tuner, that kind of thing, and you could always start out with a receiver, but then eventually you were going to buy a preamp and an amp and a tuner and a turntable and a tape deck, instead of one of all those all-in-one things. I kind of think it's the same thing, because you can buy the best you can afford for what you need. So maybe at first you don't need an e-commerce solution, meaning I have one product, I'm going to sell a book, and I'm basically going to sell it through Amazon. But I need a website to establish my identity.
That sounds like a whole nother business idea for you. That you should be like the Travelocity of first starter business building.
Yeah.
You piece together the X, Y, Z, and then it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of package.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I just asked them to do it today, so.
Yeah. And just FYI, I mean, one of the things I really like to do is teach people how to do things. Like I have some very successful courses where I've sold thousands of courses where they're video training on how to set up WordPress, on how to make WordPress secure. I've sold thousands of those products through an internet marketing company. I like doing that. What I endeavor to do this year is I'm gonna create 6 Udemy courses on various topics, and we'll see how it goes. But I think this one is gonna be the first one, which is basically how do I get started in a really simple system that can grow as I grow. So thank you. So get web hosting. Doesn't have to be incredibly expensive at the top, at the outset. I'm gonna really bypass this because this is something you can learn online, or if you need to learn it and you want to ask me questions afterwards, you can. But I'm just taking you through the steps. The next step you take after you get a web host is you're going to want to create what they call a cPanel account in WHM. And that will basically give you a login so that you can use FTP, you can do different things with your web host. It allows you to install WordPress on your web host, and it also allows you to tell your web host what your name servers are. And that's all kind of complicated, but if you have questions about that, we can talk about it after. So it's always important to set up FTP, which is short for File Transfer Protocol, and it goes way back. It's been around forever, before the web for sure. And basically what you use it for is the best practice for installing WordPress themes and plugins, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is to upload the files through FTP. You can do it through WordPress, and quite frankly, I'm lazy. I do it through WordPress too most of the time. But there are some plugins and themes that you just have to install via FTP. We'll get to that in a minute. So FileZilla is a really good one. It's a free program. It's solid. And then you log into cPanel and you install WordPress. Okay. There's some important things you have to set up from the get-go. You can change them later, but you should know what your site title is going to be. It could be your product name. It could be your name if you're the product. For example, I like to think, or I tend to think, that authors are the product. Like, people, once they read a book of yours, if they like it, they're going to want to buy more, right? So they're really looking to the person. They may or may not remember the name of the book, but they'll probably remember the name of the author. They'll look for the author. They won't necessarily look for the title of the book. So if you're an author or a performer, like if you're Metallica, you want to be known as Metallica, not as whatever one of their songs are. Master of Puppets, right?
Yeah.
And you wanna input your tagline, which is kind of like a shorthand version of this is what I do, this is who I am, this is what I sell, this is what my product does for you. And then of course, you have to set a really strong username and password. And what do I mean by strong? Something that's not easily guessable, something that's long, something that is not that is comprised of numbers, upper and lowercase, special characters, all that kind of stuff. It's
And
really
not
important.
Password 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, because nobody would guess that ever.
Or 1977.
And then the other thing you do in cPanel is set your backup schedule, because at some point things are going to fail and you're going to need backups. So any questions up to now, because I know I'm going over this really fast. Yes.
I was just wondering what WHM stood for.
What does it stand for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody know? Anybody?
Website hosting
Working on it.
management. Yeah, it's a good guess, right? That's a good guess.
Yeah, yeah. I think it stands for web host management, but I could be wrong.
Web host management. Bingo, we have a winner. Ding, 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 ding.
Free drinks.
Yeah.
Woohoo! So WordPress, and I'm a big fan of WordPress. I use it on everything I do now. I haven't set up or designed or created an HTML site probably in 15 years. So WordPress is really a custom, most well known as a blogging platform. Companies like Coca-Cola, big files, and oh, I can just go to my FTP file backup, right? You have back everything you create. Yes, Tom.
Quick Hack Yorker, the official store for music, MTV News, Beyond that's a
Create a website, but it's open source, and there are many theme developers and plugin developers, free and paid, that create, for example, plugins that extend the functionality of the core WordPress installation. Like you can get things like membership scripts or membership plugins that allow you to configure or create a complete membership site, like like Copy Blogger. They're using WordPress. That's their thing. They have a set of themes called Studio Press, and the framework is called Genesis. But their whole business is based around WordPress, and it's a membership. It's kind of a membership site in that you can sign up, belong to different membership levels and whatnot. So there's a lot of different plugins you can find online for free, or you can find online for a price that will extend that functionality. There's e-commerce solutions and whatnot. Cynthia?
Yeah, just a quick question. So a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they're all pushing Squarespace.
Squarespace?
Play around with that at all? It's kind of like the new. Yeah, I don't know. I keep all my podcasts are pushing Squarespace.
I think I use Squarespace. I can go down and use Squarespace.
So what was compelling about Squarespace versus something else?
Squarespace was they're the East Coast competitor to what would be Weebly out here.
Mm-hmm.
And so like Weebly for a while didn't have a very good design element to it, and so Squarespace was the first one that I saw that had like really good built-in fonts that were just for like more the artistic type of folks, whatever. If you want to open up a retail clothing store, it's like you want the fonts to match your clothing styles, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And just the layout, everything was just really, really well designed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and their customer support is phenomenal.
Okay.
So
Design program?
it's just really designed well from the start. So like for when I remember starting out with WordPress, was you actually had to know some stuff to kind of get around it. Right. Squarespace was one of the first ones that looked awesome, but you could kind of drag and drop stuff. And Weebly has kind of become even more drag and drop.
Okay.
So
yeah, and WordPress, that there's a theme out there called Divi. That's along those same lines where it's drag and drop, and
yeah.
It's basically a theme or a platform that you pay for on top of WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Squarespace, I've heard good things about it, but I like being able to control damn near everything, and I can control, if I wanted to, the CSS. I could write, I could make a custom child theme. I could do lots of different things with WordPress. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just add that I work in DMS when I go, and I really have liked DMS.
Okay.
Which you can add on to WordPress. It's a design management system.
Okay.
And it's very flexible. And
yeah.
So I just wanted to suggest that that's another way to go. But again, it's someone who has a more developed design sense already. Maybe Squarespace is for someone who doesn't have quite that, but can respond to it.
Yep. Yep. So I think it's, in a lot of cases, it's a personal preference, but I would venture to guess that Squarespace is a hell of a sponsor, meaning that there's,
oh, for sure, yeah.
They're probably, there's probably a financial incentive for them to be, getting in the minds of podcast producers, whereas WordPress it's a free platform, so there's less of a profit motive there from the WordPress guys. Although don't get me wrong, they're making money on other things, but yeah. I personally, if I were going to consult with you on podcasting, I'd use WordPress. Did you have something, Bo?
No.
Okay.
I have a question. Once you build these layers, and you don't know a lot about building websites, let's say you built it, or you go to someone they build it, then am I able to then learn enough to go and switch out content or add different things, or do I then have to like email the person who built it?
No, that's why I love WordPress or anything that's basically a content management system in the modern time. Because when I was doing old-fashioned HTML sites, and I had a business owner who changed his phone number, he had to call me or email me and tell me what to do, what to change, and then I had to put him in a queue behind 50 other people, and it might take a week to change a phone number, when in WordPress you can do it, and you log in and you change it, you fix it right away. And as far as content goes, like I said before, if you know how to write an email or use Word, you can use WordPress out of the box.
One of the only downfalls of that is it depends on if you have someone else set up your website in WordPress. It all depends on how they set it up, because they can set it up in a manner that is going to not be easy for you to ferret out. Okay? There are some plugins that they can use that will make it difficult for you to make changes to it. Okay? So you have to be careful about if you have someone else set it up, you have to be careful about what you allow them to use. Otherwise, if you go to take it back and you want to do the work on it, you're kind of stuck with whatever they give you.
Right. Basically, what I would say is you need to tell them what you want to do, what you want to be able to say.
What plugins you want allowed to use, or what themes you want to be used.
Well, she may not know, the intricacies, like in DMS, some of my clients, I have to train them very thoroughly to use it. But I can also design it so that someone can change their own slideshows, change their own content. It depends on what they want to be able to control. I can design it so that they can control whatever they want to.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
You can control it how you want it, but to turn it over to them, if they don't know how to utilize what you've given them, they're stuck. So, it's all wonderful that you have this content management system that you're plugging into their system, to her website, that if she can't figure it out once you hand it off to her, it's wasted money for her.
So yeah, there's a lot of intricacies about all of this, but if you did it yourself,
And learn the themes,
I would venture to guess that within a couple days, you'd have a fully functioning website that you understood how to use. Like if you bought the Genesis framework from Studio Press, they have tutorials and demonstrations on how to set up everything with their themes. Now they're not talking about like custom CSS and stuff like that, but I almost never see the need for that kind of thing for most of my clients. It's just you're getting into a situation where you're trying to make your website like completely perfect to you when you probably are going to spend your time and money better perfecting your marketing around that website versus, I mean, I would venture to guess that if I put up a website today and you put up one from a designer that was perfect for you, I'd be selling a lot more stuff than he is from the get-go.
That's the reason.
So there's a few things around WordPress that you need to configure, and it's pretty simple. There are a few things you want to configure in the settings. Stuff like, do you want to allow comments, for example? I think most people probably should, but some people just don't want to deal with the comments. Like in a blogging system, and we've all seen it on YouTube and Yahoo, comments can be really ugly. And most people will, they'll venture their opinion online a lot more easily than they do in person, and they're usually a lot more negative. So some people turn off comments. I usually keep them on, but there are a few other things you need to do. Take it off?
Not yet.
Okay.
So can you filter comments? Like,
You can moderate comments, yes. You can set it up so that they are not automatically approved, so they go into a queue and you could look at them. A lot of times, somebody will leave a comment, but it's obviously they're obviously doing it for SEO purposes, where they're wanting to insert a link and get a backlink from your site. That's not real effective, but they do it anyway. And if I think it's obvious spam, I'll just take out their URL, leave the comment if it's a good comment. Anyway, yeah. So install the theme, child themes. Let's get out of WordPress for a little bit because we want to get to the video stuff. But there's a bunch of plugins here that I recommend that I use all the time. Yoast SEO really makes your on-page SEO a lot easier to deal with. WordFence is a security plugin that's really good. They have a free and a paid version. Pretty Link is a way to add affiliate links that are pretty and not ugly like affiliate links like Amazon, amzn.co/XY57N. Those are silly. There's a really good plugin that I use all the time called Duplicate Post. If you set up a nice landing page and you don't want to have to recreate it, you just duplicate that post and tweak it a little bit, and then you can run A/B tests. Sumome's a really good suite of plugins. It's free. Blueberry is a good good podcast plugin. Makes embedding your podcast on your website a lot easier. The two that I have at the top are Thrive Content Builder and Thrive Leads. The gentleman in the back left, but he was asking about Optimized Press. Thrive Content Builder, in my mind, is better. It's easier to use. You can drag and drop stuff on a page. It's much easier to use. Thrive Leads is a good opt-in plugin that allows you to capture leads. Yes.
Is WordPress making it pretty simple to integrate e-commerce these days?
Yeah.
They have a good. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a number of plugins that will allow you to do e-commerce.
Yeah, there's a lot of plugins that allow you to do e-commerce. A lot.
Yeah.
Thrive Content Builder, talked about that. The thing I like about Thrive, so they build the content builder, they build Thrive Leads, and they build Thrive themes. The thing I like most about them is their support and training is top notch. They're coming out with updates nearly every day, feature enhancements. And every time they make an enhancement, they tell you what it is and how to take advantage of it with video and text. It's really good stuff. And when you do have a problem, they're right there. I mean, you open a ticket and you get it resolved within 24 hours, which in my space, that's a short amount of time. Sometimes it takes weeks to get an answer on plugins, because plugins can be complex, but they know their stuff. That Thrive Leads allows you to build your own opt-in forms. And why this is important is because this is the email piece of the 3-piece plan, which is website, video, email. You need to be able to, on your website, capture people's email addresses, and maybe you want more, their name, maybe you want their physical address. But typically we want their email address so that we can, basically we're getting their permission to market to them. Rather than you spamming people by scouring the internet and finding people's email address, they've come to your website, they probably found you through Google, maybe they found you through a business card. You know, they looked at your business card and, oh, I need to go there. They go there, they like what they see, they want to learn more, they want to, you know, be updated on products or books, new books that you're releasing. You sign up to their newsletter or their subscriber list, and it's easier for you to market to them. So that's really important, yes.
So, I mean, I usually recommend something like MailChimp, where if they'll get the opt-in form from MailChimp, they'll put it on their site, and then it'll go right directly to MailChimp, so they can use that to get their email out. And what is the stuff also that MailChimp does?
The forms you can create with Thrive Leads is 1,000,000 times better than anything MailChimp can give you.
Yeah, but where does your...
It goes to your email service provider, which can be MailChimp. It can be Constant Contact. It can be Aweber. It can be a whole host of email service providers. It works with virtually all of them. As long as you can get the HTML for that form, that form for that list in MailChimp, you can basically paste that into Thrive Leads, and it will build whatever form you pick out of the template or whatever form you build from scratch.
So it's a form builder.
It's a form builder. But more additionally, it will tell you how many people saw the form, how many people subscribed. Your MailChimp will do that too, but this is all right within your WordPress dashboard. So it'll show your conversions as well. Yeah. And it does two-part submissions, like you'll see on lead pages sometimes. Lead pages is another, it's a service you can use outside of your web host or outside of your website that allows you to build really nice looking sales pages and landing pages. A lot of times they'll have two-part opt-in forms where basically it'll say, hey, do you want to download this ebook? And you click the button and a form pops up that says, well, if you do, and it says it has a little 50% bar, you're 50% done. If you do, insert your email and click the button. And then the next step happens, which is, you know, you'll get that confirmation email that says, do you really want to belong to this list? And then you get an email that says, here's your download. The two-part opt-in forms are really effective because what you're doing is you're making your subscriber kind of micro commit. It's easier to make micro commitments than big commitments. So if all you're asking me to do is press a button to get a free thing, I'm going to do it. And then, oh, now I have to enter my email address. That's a much easier leap to make than just saying, hey, if you want this free thing, give me your email address. It sounds crazy, but it works because you're making people make smaller commitments, even though the commitment is the same size. You're making them make smaller ones, and it's psychological, and it works.
I have a question about email. I think we talked a long time ago about ethics in email.
Yeah.
So I belong to, I'm sure it's like Congress and stuff, to a social work association in action nationally. So I have thousands of emails access to, and email groups, whatever. So then I had a site, would I then just email them and just say, hey, it's Shelley, whatever, come to my, I have a new site. Like most of an introduction, not just steal their email. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you're kind of talking about a different thing. What we're talking about here is visitors to your website who then give you their email address, and essentially they're giving you permission to market to them later. Versus a list that some organization maintains that they allow their members to access. So you're talking like a mailing list, and I'm talking more of like, these are your subscribers. They're in touch with you because they've gone to your website and they know a little bit about you, and you've given them enough reason for them to sign up. Whereas they might be a part of that mailing list just by virtue of the fact that they paid an annual dues, and they know nothing about you. They've never heard of you. They've never gone to your website. They wouldn't know you from any of the other 10,000 people in that association. So that can be an effective way to market, but your conversions, your success ratio is going to be a lot smaller with those types of mailing lists because they're really cold. They don't know anything about you. Oh, what did I do here? Went backwards. All right. So everybody following so far? Is this too much? Is this probably good? Okay. All right. So
Off to the races.
yeah. So I personally and professionally use Aweber. It's like MailChimp. It's an email service provider that they basically do the heavy lifting. They send out the emails. They send out the confirmation emails. They help you build the forms, the opt-in forms, and that kind of thing. So I use Aweber, but it doesn't really matter what you use. Aweber happens to have good deliverability. They have really high respect. They stay on top of all the different ISPs. Between the time you sign up on somebody's website to the time you get an email back, that email's gone through 15 or 20, it could be 15 or 20 different servers, and every place along the way, your email could be flagged as spam, or it could be marked undeliverable for whatever reason. Aweber and the other big ones, they have really good relationships with the ISPs, such that, from time to time, an ISP might be marked as like everything coming from them is spam. So they have a relationship with those ISPs, and they talk it out. They figure out, okay, what do we need to do? And there are blacklists and there are whitelists on the internet. And there's many of them. And trust me, if you ever get put on a spam list, I'm sorry for you, because it's hard to get off. Because once you're on one, you're on 20. And some of them you can dispute, some of them you can challenge. Many of them are automated, and you just have to wait. And sometimes it's better just to change services. But anyway, that's getting into the weeds. So this is really setting up your announcement network. And what I mean by that is, anytime you create new content, whether it's a video, podcast, a web, a new web post, a blog post, you're going to want to, quote unquote, let people know about it, right? You're going to have fans on Facebook. You're going to have followers on Twitter. You're going to have people who follow you, your Pinterest boards or whatever, your Instagram account. You want to let them know that hey, I have something new. I have a new album out, right? Who wouldn't want to know about that? If you're a fan, you want to know about it. And you probably want to know in advance before everybody else knows. One way to let people know in advance is, hey, if you're an email subscriber, you get advance notice of all this cool stuff. But another thing you can do is create a Google Plus business page, create a Twitter account, so that every time you create new content and you publish new content, you're letting these different channels know there's something new, there's something good out there. I just wrote a new book. Would you like to read it? Here's how you get it. So these are just accounts or services that I use. You can use different ones. So there's Google, there's YouTube, there's Google Plus, which is their analog to Facebook. It was kind of their attempt at social media, but it's great for SEO. Number one, if you put something out on Google Plus, it's probably going to hit the Google search engine a lot faster than a Facebook post on a business page. But Facebook is huge, right? So you can't neglect it. So another account that I suggest setting up is Animoto. And this is a site or a service where you can actually easily, very easily create videos. And they could be, you know, 30 seconds, a minute long, whatever. And they supply, it's basically, it's a two-step process, or it's comprised of 3 pieces. Piece number 1 is music. You can overlay a background music. You can put text on a slide. You can put video, or pictures rather, pictures in this Animoto video, and then you piece them all together. You produce it, and you can make a 1-minute video or a 30-second video in less than 5 minutes, where it's produced, it's rendered. You can download it, and then you can upload it to YouTube. You can upload it to Facebook. You can do all sorts of things with this video. Now, why would you do this? Well, it's just more content that you can put out there on air. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, that'll do like.
And the rest is still pictures. So it's like, yeah, you can only upload 10 seconds. Yep. So you can be like, hey, it's real. And really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really nice. Anything else, I suggest you start out with a leads list, a customers list, and a partners list. So your leads are those visitors who visit your website and say, I want to know more about you, I want to get your newsletter, or whatnot. Customers are actual customers, they paid you money. So if they bought a product, they get put on the customer list. Now you can mark, your best customer in the world is somebody who's already bought from you, right? It's way easier to sell to somebody who's already bought from you than somebody off the street or who just saw you for the first time. So it's important to have a customer list. And then your partner list, those are the people I work with, right? Providers, joint venture partners. I want all of those people to be on the list. So I might actually have 3 partner lists, but in general, you have a leads list, a customers list, and a partners list. And you market differently to each. You message each one differently. You know, your leads you want to turn into customers, and ideally you want to turn your customers into partners. You know, maybe they'll become your affiliate. Maybe they'll start selling your product for, you know, an affiliate commission. That's the best customer, is somebody who recommends you to somebody else, and you pay them back by giving them a commission. Set up a Google account. It goes without saying, you need a Google account, you need a Gmail account, you need a YouTube account, you need a Google Plus account, and then you always need to set up Google Analytics, because you want to know where your traffic's coming from and different demographics. You know, what devices are they using? You'll find nowadays that most people, you know, the majority of people are using mobile devices. They're not using desktop PCs anymore. It's almost 50-50, but the tide is turning. It's more mobile than desktop now. Not by much, but you'll find that a lot of people use iPads. You know,
Mobile device,
yeah.
no longer desktop.
And then you also want to set up Google Webmaster Tools, because it helps you with your website. Finding out what pages are getting indexed, what kind of issues you're having. This is all, you know, kind of detailed stuff, but set up a Google Webmaster account and you'll be good to go. Here's where the rubber really meets the road. You want to set up a YouTube channel. You want to make it look nice, get some cover art, go to Fiverr, spend $5, or do your own graphic design. But you want something that basically you know, conveys your brand, conveys what it is you're doing. And you'll probably want to set up some playlists, and you'll want to decide, do you want to run ads on your YouTube videos? You know, you have an option. You can say yes or no. You know, at first you won't make a lot of money doing this, but over the course of time, and you start getting, you know, into the thousands of views, you could start making, you know, a decent amount of money. I'm not talking, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars here for most of us, although some people have done it. I'm talking, you know, 10 or 20 bucks a month for putting up a video that you're going to put up anyway. Why not, right? Set up Google Plus. Again, it's Google's answer to Facebook. It's their social network. You have there are various pages you can set up. You can set up your own personal profile page, a business page, a community page, which are kind of like Facebook groups. And then you can also do collections. Collections are becoming quite popular on Google Plus, in that basically you're taking, it's kind of like curating content on Google Plus, in that you find various, like let's say your niche is, I don't know, hockey, ice hockey, youth ice hockey. You could collect various websites into, you know, a youth ice hockey, a youth, you know, different youth sports, let's say. You can basically curate that content into those different collections, and people will start subscribing to your collections. They'll start following your collections, and you'll find that you could get some decent web traffic that way. Also, events. Events are critical to setting all this stuff up. With your Google Hangouts, basically what you do, and I did that for this presentation or this Hangout, is I set up an event in Google Plus, and then I set up an event in YouTube, and I tie them together, and I can show you how, probably in the next meetup.
Collection, just to make sure I understand, it's like a bunch of content that I might just search, but it's all in one place.
Yeah.
So they come to me and all the different things that they may go to, is 20 different things they can find on that.
Yes. Yep. So you're kind of becoming the go-to person for your niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
The expert, the authority. Yep, resource center.
Yeah.
Your one-stop shop. Set up Facebook. Again, it's very similar to Google Plus. You set up your own personal profile, a business page. You can set up a group. Groups. I know several groups where the group owner earns a very comfortable living, because what they do is they basically share a wealth of information, and then they sell through it. They can sell services, they can sell products, and Colin Terrio. I saw his income statement the other day, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
He made $200,000, and all he does is sit on Facebook and do stuff, talk about stuff. So that's pretty cool. And you can also advertise through Facebook, and Facebook is a very, very effective advertising channel. Like I said before, you could, for as little as $1, you could advertise a product or a service that you sell, and you can highly target who you want to contact. Sign up for Animoto, we talked about that. So here's where it really, really happens. So you have your content marketing plan really is your video, and then your blog and your email, and this is how it works. You basically set up a Google Hangout on air, and so I want to talk to Bo about this, because we're doing this, and this is where I got this whole idea. So he's basically interviewing. So he's a real estate guy, right? And he's interviewing select people in the real estate industry. And he's basically doing 30-minute to 60-minute interviews once a month. We're probably going to go to once a week. But on those interviews, the quote unquote expert in whatever real estate area that person is knowledgeable in, he or she talks about, what they're doing in their business, where they started, kind of like what successes have they seen, what failures have they seen, what kind of like was their biggest goof up, their biggest aha. And a lot of people are watching those. And what we're doing is, on our website, we're announcing that interview. It's coming, right? And this is who it's going to be. And if you want to, be notified of when that hangout is going to be, you sign up to our list. they sign up, and we send an email before the hangout saying it's going to be on this, this date and time, and this is the URL to go watch it. And people, the subscribers can go watch that interview live, or they can watch it afterwards. It's pretty cool. And as people sign up, you now have an email list that's building and growing, because you tell or you ask your interviewee to, hey, you want your customers and leads to watch this, right? Because you're in it. Why wouldn't they want to watch it, right? So you have them mail their list, which is probably a lot bigger than yours, and they mail their list. Their list goes to your webpage. They sign up because they want to see the interview. Now all of a sudden you have 200 or 300 or 400 more people on your list. You didn't do anything yet. You asked somebody for an interview. They said yes, and then you asked, hey, can you mention this to your customers or your leads? And if they do it, you could potentially, they could be reaching out to 2,000 or 3,000 people, if not more, and a certain percentage of those people are going to go sign up to go see that person in an interview, and they're extremely interested in the topic because they've already bought from this person. And the flip side, where do you make the money, right? The flip side is most of these people you're interviewing have their own products and services, and they also have their own affiliate programs. So one person, Bo interviewed in particular, has a program that's what, $2,000 to sign up for, and he gets people to sign up for it all the time. He's got hundreds of customers. Well, when Bo becomes an affiliate and sells, and somebody buys through Bo's affiliate link because they found it on that hangout, because we list it at the end of the hangout and we also talk about it on the hangout, Bo could get 40 or 50% of that $2,000 sale. So that's how you monetize that. You got enough of that going, and this stuff is, we're trying to make it evergreen, so this stuff isn't going out of style. It's not a fad. It's real estate information that doesn't, it evolves, but it doesn't really change. That video that you did last year, 5 years from now, could still be relevant, and people will still buy from it, and those subscribers will still be on your list, and they'll be on your list for the next one that goes out. That's an interview with somebody else in the industry that they may or may not care about, but if you're in the right markets, they're gonna care. Like a rock and roll fan, may like Metallica and may like, name a band, right? Another band that's in the same kind of, genre as Metallica, or speed metal or whatever.
AC/DC.
People don't, people do have their, they're fans of particular bands or baseball teams or football teams, but I would venture to guess that a Denver Bronco fan is probably a football fan. So they're going to want to know about, different football merchandise, right? Not just Denver merchandise. And, look at people who aren't necessarily Warriors fans. They're Steph Curry fans. They're buying his jerseys, right? So all that stuff, you can cross promote almost everything in that genre or industry or niche or whatever. So that's kind of the whole crux of this whole thing. You create you get an interview, you do a Google Hangout, you announce it on your website, you get subscribers, they email to their list, you get more subscribers, and then you sell affiliate products on the back end. And that's really the whole gist of the whole thing. And like I said before, you could easily take the content of that Hangout. So now that Hangout's actually on Google+, it's on YouTube, and it's on your website. It's also mentioned in, whoever you're interviewing, their email. So you've got that video all over the place. Lots of different ways people can see it. You can upload it. You can upload it to Facebook, which is another awesome channel. And You can then take that audio, you can strip that audio out and turn it into a podcast. So now you have a podcast without really doing much work because you've already done the work. You did the interview, you did it live. And anybody who has a Gmail account and a webcam can do this. It's just that simple. So
You see both, interview you and
yes, you see
You
both.
have up to like 10 people in your group, so you can have multiple people. You can also just, you know, screen share yourself and have nobody on the call and it just captures the information. So like the other day I was trying to do a PowerPoint, I couldn't figure out how to get it on the screen. So Bill just put the PowerPoint on the screen when I did a Google Hangout. And I just went through it myself and records. Then you keyword the title and
Description.
YouTube, and you put a description. That's how you're found on YouTube and Google. I mean, you do a Google search, you're gonna find most of Google's videos.
Because I think what's cool is that if they get interested in the interview, you know, if you were an interviewer. So let's say people become fans of your interviews for whatever reason they become, you know what I mean, something different about you. Because it's like an author. If you like the author, like you're saying, then you might see the other books out, even if you don't know what they're about. You know what I mean? So I kind of like that if you're using yourself as a brand.
Well, and think about this. There are many people out there now who have really popular podcasts because they're interviewing really cool people. But now they're the celebrity.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you kind of make it
You know?
your thing no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, it's social proof. If you are nobody that you interview, you know, Tony Robbins, you're gonna get thousands of views.
Right.
So that's what everybody does. Like John Lee Dumas,
I know.
yeah, that's exactly what he did. He had all these top-notch guys to interview with him, and most people will, surprisingly enough, you know, if you ask them. You know, so I'm in real estate investing, so that's the guy that I'm following in real estate investing. It's pretty simple.
And he did a whole Kickstarter thing.
Yeah, so it's a proven plan. This way is really simple, and you're really focusing just kind of on like 3 areas, which is your website has to be presentable. That's where you're gonna basically host your video, and your Google Hangouts on air, which is a free service that Google provides. And there's really not a lot of limitations on it. And also your email. So your your marketing through email. You know, your target audience.
Do they have a
really
time limit yet?
I think it's 8 hours.
Okay, so they don't have a time limit.
Yeah. And
who's gonna want to talk or listen for 8 hours?
Well,
Straight.
you know, I mean, you could do a whole video summit with 10 panelists. You know, yourself and 9 other people, and you can just. I did this last year. We did basically 40 marketers got together over the course of 5 days, so it was 8 people on each one, and it was a couple hours each time. So at the end of a week, you know, you had 10 hours of video. It's great marketing for anybody you're interviewing, because they get to showcase their expertise, their knowledge, their passion, and you win because you're leveraging their audience and their name. So it's a good system, and I would venture to guess that anybody in this room could use it in some form or fashion. And then you just add on pieces at the end that, you know, here's my announcement network. You know, a critical component is to being successful at anything online is outreach. You know, you have to reach out to people in your niche, and I call it marrying up. You know, you want to reach out to people who are more authoritative than you, and you basically, you know, you're using their name, their reputation, and it's all by association. So people start associating you with that person and their authority, their expertise, and you win. So anyway, anything else?
I just have a question about when it becomes too much, like if we do all these things.
That's why I want you to focus only on get a website, find interviewees, do the hangout, and everything else is pretty much easy. Then you just follow up with emails.
So you know what I'm saying, like advertising to too much to people, where they're just like, oh, Shelley's like one more thing, or just selling one more thing.
Well, you know, I subscribe to a guy named Ben Settle, and he sends up to 12 emails a day. and I haven't unsubscribed yet. I like what the guy has to say. I like, you know.
Emails a day.
I mean, I would probably watch Rocky 3 12 times a day if it was on 12 times a day. If I like it, I'm gonna watch it. Yeah. Yeah. So really, you're kind of segmenting your market too, because if you don't like getting more than one email a week, you're probably not my customer, right?
So what you're doing, what you do is you promote this particular model and you teach how to work this model. Okay.
Yeah, this is what I'm going to be putting on Udemy for my first Udemy course. You do.
Okay.
You do.
I came up with at least 10%. I couldn't figure out how to do it to save my life.
But everything else that we're talking about, this is the 3 basic things are pretty simple. Everything else is an add-on. You don't have to have announcement networks. You don't have to have, you know, a Google Plus collection. It just helps. So what you do is you just add things on as you can, and as you need to be able to maintain your frequency and your quality of publishing. You can't like start a Google group and then not do anything with it.
That's the ones,
That's tough.
Because the guy he's talking about, so he does a podcast 7 days a week.
Yeah.
When I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, you have to really do it. I mean,
He does it one day out of the week though.
Right, he does
When
also.
your business makes $500,000 a month, you can.
Right.
You can justify it, yeah.
Because I do count on it I mean, I really do like this podcast. So it's quick, it's half-hour alerts, and I do look forward to listening to certain ones every day or once a week, and I know when they are. So I guess that consistency is what when you say it.
Plus he asks the same questions. He's actually after to listen to them.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He doesn't ever, that's the problem with him. He never changes his questions.
And we're kind of trying to make it, yeah, I mean, we want to deliver something that not everybody else is doing.
Right.
So we don't have, I mean, we might have 3 questions that are the same, but everything else pretty much flows from how the last question was asked and what the person talked about, you know, kind of the gist. Can you expand on that? Well, what do you mean by this? And that's never going to be the same. So it's unique. It's really unique content. And the interviewee, you know, you almost don't want them to think about what you're going to ask them. You know, you don't want them to necessarily to prepare. You don't want them to have a presentation. We did one with a presentation. It was like, I can read the slides. You know, but you really want to open things up. And there's one really good guy who's his name is James Altucher. He's an author, but he's also a podcaster. He interviews everybody. And he talks about, you know, I have to call 100 people to get, you know, 99 no's, and he gets 1 yes, but it's like, you know, Ice Cube or something. You know, somebody who's like way, you know, and then he asks him he always asks the origin story, like, how did you get started? What's like your inspiration, motivation, passion? But everything else is like, he's asking his questions based upon what the interviewee is telling him. You know, so it's good. You know, if you've ever gone to a job interview as an interviewee, as a job applicant, what's more fun for you and what's always been more exciting and makes you think, oh, I want to work here versus, oh, I know they ask the same questions of the same people in the same way. If you were an animal, if you could be an animal, what would you be? You know, really? You're gonna ask me that again? Yeah. I see myself sitting in your chair asking the same stupid question. I don't know. Bo knows?
No.
I don't know.
We tried using that one.
You have to, you know, Google Hangout on air when you gotta play it out. You have to incorporate the method.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Absolutely.
To the name of the font.
All right.
Method.
So.
Hey now.
I think we're going to get too deep in the weeds if we keep talking about kind of like the how-tos and the stuff, and it's already like 8 o'clock or 7:40. So I'm going to put this up online. You can look at the presentation. I'll put the mind map up there as well. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, ask now, or we can end here and we can just network and talk and whatever. What do you guys want to do?
Network and talk.
Question.
All right, so let's just adjourn and just be human beings and talk to each other.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. All right, thank you for coming. I'm sorry. Did she never bring the bill? Yeah, let's get that taken care of. Yeah, you can catch her on the way out. Yeah. All right, thank you. Sure thing.
Shut down the video.
I'm trying. Thank you. It's the second Monday of every month. Unless it falls on a Friday. Then we'll figure something else out. All right, that makes sense. All right, thanks a lot. You too. Let me shut this down real quick and then I'll. I think shoot. Just 1 second, okay? I shut down a window that I shouldn't have. Can you end it? You can't end it, right?
Well, still got you here.
Ah. Come on.
Let's try it. There you go. Well, no.
Hold on. I think I closed the window before I. Oh, here.